go. Good evening and welcome to Global Resources for Men. I'm your host, Alicia Buss, and I have the great pleasure of being here with Elijah Kai. He is an author of Already Whole, founder of Life Lab, executive coach, keynote speaker, and so much more. He is an incredible human being, and I'm really excited for us to talk about men's mental health and prison reform. Elijah, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me. It's good
You're
to be
very
here.
welcome. So Elijah, these are some pretty big topics. What is it about men's mental health that is important to you?
I mean, men's mental health is important. Mental health is important to me in general. Uh, and let me just share that. But men's mental health in this particular context is because I do a lot of work with prison. I do a lot of
Yeah.
work with teens. And a lot of the challenges that the men in prison deal with comes back to the father.
Hmm.
Like I just had a conversation with a guy today uh, who's been in and out of prison for the last, 20 years of his life. He's 37 years old. And he's had this massive drug problem that then would allow him or force him to commit crimes and everything else.
Sure. Ripple effects.
And so I'm having a conversation with him. And when I'm doing these classes in prison, I tell them, bring me your life story and I will help you find peace. All I need is one session. If you are open, one session, bring me your pain and you won't leave with it. So after about
Amazing.
4 weeks of being in my class, he's like, "Can I get a one-on-one, Elijah?" So I had one of the COs organize a Zoom one-on-one, and he gives me his life story. He says, "You know, my mom didn't give a fuck about me. My dad definitely didn't give a fuck about me. He wasn't. He was never there. This was his. This was his narrative. My dad was never there for me." As he keeps talking, I'm like, and he says, and he was abusive. I said, okay. So as he keeps talking, I'm listening. And then he says, and my dad would only really have time for me when he wanted me to go work out with him in the fields or uh, to go fishing with him or to go golf with him. And I'm listening. And he says, and then he used to tell me that I wasn't going to be shit and this, that, and the other. So fast forward into the conversation, I'm like, so was your dad never there for you? Because you used the word never.
Right.
Or is it just like when I wanted to go play basketball and this, that, and the other, he wasn't? Oh, so he was there, just not when you wanted him to be. And then you just take that and blanket the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And then when we get to the abuse part, he says, well, he used to tell me I wasn't gonna be shit. I said, yeah, but was it for nothing? I said, did you do anything? He says, well, when I would get in trouble at school, get put on detention and this, that, and the other. He said, I said, so you are leaving parts of this story out.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why this is relevant is because he's taken that mentality of I'm not wanted by my parents and now is subjecting his kids to that.
Yeah.
So he pushes his kids away and now his kids feel unwanted.
Yeah.
All based on a narrative that he had been telling himself since he was a kid that he was unwanted, that he found out by the time we were done wasn't true. So I'm bringing this back to my point of why, because if we don't handle our shit, then we will pass it down to our kids. And that is how we pass down generational trauma.
Yeah.
And so a lot of daddy issues with daughters and boys not knowing how to be men because of fathers. So men's mental health is important because the men are the stable ground that the family spiritually, mentally, and emotionally is supposed to grow off of. The dad is the grounding energy. And if dad is not right, then the whole family's off.
Where's the safety?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
if we're gonna bring the world back to a safer place, I don't think I've ever used that term before, but if we're gonna bring the world back to a safer place, then dads have to handle their shit. Because like I said, dad is supposed to be the grounding energy for everybody else to bounce off of. Dad is supposed to be the still point. Dad is supposed to be the rock. And if dad is mentally unstable or emotionally unstable, everybody suffers. And that's what I try to tell these guys today about relationships. And they're like, oh, I'm the man and I'm supposed to be, head of the house and this, that, and the other, and the breadwinner and blah, 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 blah. First of all, women today don't need you to be the breadwinner. They get their own bag. What they need is emotional stability. When a woman says today that she wants stability, 9 times out of 10, in my opinion, she's talking about emotional stability. She can get
I
her
would
own
agree with
bag.
that. Yeah.
She can get her own bag and provide the bag. She'll take care of your ass. She ain't got no problem treating you like a king. But can she come lay her head on your chest? Can she bring her day to you? Can you not make it about you? Can you not try to fix it and just listen? When she's bouncing off the walls and mad and pissed off and going, can you just be there and just shut up and just ground her? Can you be that opposing energy, not in a combative way, but in a calming way?
Yeah. Calming the nervous system is such a huge thing. A thing that I run across with men, and I'm curious about like what your experience has been as well, is how to men do that without self-abandoning, right? Without completely identifying with like needing to have this performative mask, right? And that the like their value is only in that. I hear that a lot. So I know that's like two
I
different
don't. You
questions.
you got to break that down for me. You got to talk to me like I'm 10 years old.
Okay, so like when a man is listening to a woman and all these sorts of things, and he needs to be the grounding rod, but he is like, he's tired, right? And he needs to not fold to the pressure of a situation, right? To not leave his integrity, his values, whatnot like that. I'm sorry, those aren't 10-year-old words, but like, do you know what I like? Does that make sense?
I think I may, and I might answer this completely wrong because I don't fully know what you mean. But if it's from what I'm gathering, if I'm exhausted and she's got something that she wants to talk about or something she needs to get off her chest, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so it's just like if you don't have the bandwidth to be able to stay into like the right place of your higher self, like to be able to hold that space for her, and that you're going to be more reactionary potentially from that.
It doesn't have anything to do with higher self. I think people do themselves a disservice when they take everything to higher or lower self. It's just being present. It's just it all that takes is just being present, and not present in the sense of how can I respond, but just intently listening to every word coming out of her mouth. That has nothing to do with higher self. That's just this is not about you right now. Because when I hear people say things like, "Oh, get to the higher self to be able to do," you're giving yourself a reason not to do it. You're just giving yourself a reason not to. It's either you choose to be present or you're not. Now, if there's things getting in your way of being present, okay, let's get some help and let's handle those things.
Yeah.
But it's not a higher self. It's just I'm the star of my movie or my documentary, and you are an extra in my documentary or my movie. And so I make everything about me. So you have some things that you need to express and get off your chest. And if I'm stuck in my world that this is my movie and you are an extra in my movie, then I'm going to stop you because it is interrupting my movie. This is about me right now. So, yeah, you got stuff you need to get off your chest, but I'm not thinking about you.
Mm.
I'm thinking about me and how I feel in this moment. It's not that I'm just cutting you off because I'm a mean asshole. It's I'm literally oblivious to the fact that I am an extra in your movie and you are the main character of your movie. So when I don't want to listen to you, it's because I believe I'm the main character of your movie.
Mm.
That ain't got nothing to do with higher self. That is just self awareness. It is not fucking about you all the time.
That's true.
Like the one of the guys I was talking to in my class today at the prison, he was like, when they told me that I was an addict, he says, this is how my mind worked. When they told me I was an addict and that I need to get my dopamine and serotonin levels right, he says, I just use it as an excuse for why I get high. Oh, so I can get, I just get high because my dopamine and serotonin levels are off. They completely took personal responsibility out of it.
Yeah.
When he knows he chooses to get high because he got some shit he don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
That's why I go into these places and I make such a huge impact very fast because I call them out on their BS
Yeah.
straight out the gate. And they'd be like, man, you right. All right, Elijah, what you got? I don't take the personal responsibility, but I also don't shame them for it.
Yeah. I think that's such a big part of it, right? Is just like having that radical personal accountability, but without the shame. And
Right.
being present in present time with people. Be like, we can't change the past. We're here. What can we do in the now to shift that internal narrative to take better action?
So what I'm saying is that I've been in the spiritual community and all that language about higher self for a long time, and I have seen it time and time again. People use it as a reason not to take personal responsibility
That's
for
so
how they show up.
interesting. That's like a whole I yeah, I feel like that's a longer conversation.
We can have it, but
Yeah, so, and I think it's
but let me explain.
definitions.
Yeah, but
Definitions of the higher self too, because like when I say higher self, I'm thinking of just like your lower self is just like where guilt and pain and like different sort of things that we still need to work through like lives, and not in like a bad, not think of like higher self better, lower self worse. It's just like we're more in a reactive space within the lower self versus like in the higher self. I think of like being present is a pure space, and so for me being present actually is in the higher self,
that
and so
and
it's cleaner. That's like my definition, and so your
that
definition of the higher self may be different.
no, I get that. And in dealing with, you got to remember, I deal with crooks, criminals, and teenagers and addicts.
Right.
People will find a way to take whatever you're saying and flip it so
Yeah.
they don't have to take personal responsibility and accountability. So when you say higher self,
Okay.
and this is even not just addicts and criminals, I'm just talking about people who don't want to take personal responsibility, period. When we say things like higher and lower self, people can take that and then go, well, until I become that, or it is something that's not me.
Interesting.
So higher or lower self still creates a level of separation where, well, it ain't me. It's my higher
Interesting.
self. It's my low. I literally hear people say this stuff out of their mouth. Well, my lower self, it's you. What is you
It's still
talking about?
you. It's
It's
just
still
part
it's
of you.
you. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong to say it, but I'm like, when we have those conversations with people, we have to be careful of the words or the language we use that could possibly take personal responsibility out of the equation, because I'm telling you, people are looking for an scapegoat, no matter what they call it.
I think this is so great because it is so important to know your audience and perspective. Because, like, when I work with my coaching clients and I use that terminology, it's actually to help with personal accountability and how we're framing things. And it's definitely like different audiences and where people are in their journey and how we partner with them in like resonance. So when working with other people, like I can completely understand like with the populations that you're working with and what you're talking about with like, yeah, they're going to flip it and they're going to use that to be like, that's not me. That makes a lot of sense. So I really appreciate like you bringing that forward so that we can have more awareness and accountability of like what's our intention and how are we trying to meet people to facilitate them to get to their like the best version of themselves to be like accountable and yeah, making progress.
I think part of my perspective comes from, and not own this, part of my perspective comes from watching people act like it takes forever to change, and it doesn't. Change takes a split second. Deciding to change is what takes forever. That's what takes forever. Well, I'm working on it. No, 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 you're not. No, you're not. You are kicking the can down the road and coming up with every other reason that you could possibly come up with not to actually make the change or do the thing that you claim you want to be or you want to do or what you're supposed to do. I literally watch people do it all the time, including teenagers. Oh, God ain't through with me yet. No, 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 no. Absolutely not. You, and for those of you that don't know me, let me give you, you're
Some
talking to a
background.
guy. Let me give you some background, because it may seem like I'm coming off insensitive or like I'm just hardcore when you don't understand the background.
Yeah.
So my mom got addicted to crack 6 months after I was born. I went to 14 schools as a kid by the time I graduated high school. I remember being in crack houses and homeless shelters with my mom, bouncing around, just chasing behind my mom. I remember watching people shoot up and get high in front of me. I remember watching the task force and SWAT teams bust in our apartment complexes to look for my mom because she was selling drugs out of the laundromat. I remember my mom having friends with AIDS, because this was at the height of the AIDS epidemic, and she would leave me to take care of them and say, just and give me a pair of blue rubber gloves and say, just don't touch them with your bare hands, but give them what they need and don't let them breathe on you. I remember my auntie getting shot in the face in front of me. I remember my mother walking into a store with no jackets and trying to walk out with 5 jackets. And when the police showed up, she dropped my hand and leave. And I have to wait for my grandmother to come pick me up at 10 o'clock at night from mall security. I remember having to wait in the car at 3 o'clock in the morning while my mom was in a house getting high. I remember her taking me into houses and saying, I'm going to the bathroom, and then jumping out the window and being gone for 3 days. And then I have to wait for my grandmother to find me. This is the first 8 years of my life. So
Wow.
I never got to see anything other than raw reality. And I remember my mother dropped me off at my grandmother's house, and some man showing up saying he's going to be my father. He's my father, and I had to come live with him. Nobody giving this 8-year-old kid any notice. And then the anger that I had towards my mother and towards my father because we had a very contentious relationship. Very contentious relationship. Sorry,
Yeah,
I need to
it's
put this
okay.
on do not disturb. But I remember these things.
Yeah, it's for anybody who
So
hasn't read Elijah's book Already Whole, it talks about a lot of these things and it's a really powerful
yeah.
book.
So come 18 years old, 17 years old, I married the first girl who said she loved me. And then I physically, mentally, and emotionally abused her until she got the courage to leave. And then I ran in the bathroom with a loaded gun, put it in my mouth, and pulled the trigger. And when I didn't die because it misfired, I started drinking until I couldn't see straight. It ended up a felon at 19 and married to the second girl who said she loved me by 20. So here I am, 20 years old, a drunk, a felon, about to be divorced for the second time, uh, attempted suicide, no relationship with my parents, full of trauma and anger. Now, statistically, I should be dead in jail or strung out on some type of drug. But
Yeah.
instead, today, I'm the most emotionally healthy person you will ever meet. I'm a two-time author. I speak all over the world. I go into the most dangerous places that nobody else wants to go into, and I help convicted murderers find peace. I help teenagers not create ridiculous stories about how their life sucks and not be disconnected from their parents. I help people heal in hours what they can't do in decades of therapy. One session, 40 years of trauma gone. So I'm happily married, three kids. I have no bad relationships in my life. I am truly blessed. But I'm not saying that to be impressive. I'm saying that everything that you hear me saying is coming from real world lived experience.
Yeah. You practice what you preach.
Absolutely. So when it comes to personal responsibility, I pull no punches.
Yeah. Absolutely. You're like you're the perfect man for the
And
job because you've
and I
been through it, you
remember,
walked the walk, and you did it.
but I also remember all of the excuses I used to give myself, even in the name of personal development and spiritual growth.
Yeah.
And I know how I weaponized it before, and I can see people weaponizing it now.
Yeah.
More reasons not to take accountability for their actions and for their own internal state. So that's where the no nonsense comes from. That
Yeah.
there's no wiggle room.
Yeah. I hear you 100%. 100%. And like Elijah and I know each other in real time. Like we've sat at the table. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to get to bring him on here today to share his story and hopefully give people hope that no matter how dire the circumstance, that there is the potential to make that change and radically change the course of your life. Um, yeah, there's so much there. So thank you for your candor and being an example of what like radical personal accountability can look like and how far it can take you, even in its
And
intensity.
we're talking about men to men. So there's a different tone there
Yeah, I get that.
because we're at a space right now where just here in the state of Arizona, 70% of kids won't get the mental health help they need.
It's a steep number.
70% kids that are dealing with suicidal, 80,000 kids dealing with suicidal ideation right now, just in this state.
It's
We've got
heartbreaking.
we've got schools cutting social emotional learning budgets. We've got schools that are turning down the fact of the actually having counselors at the
Wild.
schools. Addiction rates flying through the roof. Arizona is a hotspot for addiction
Yeah, I believe it.
and recovery spaces. The prison population is growing rapidly. We have a 70% nationwide recidivism rate. We have more suicides that are happening on a regular basis from grown men all the way down to teens and to
Yeah.
middle schoolers. So we're out of time.
Yeah.
We're out of time. That this is no longer something that is going to create chaos. The chaos has been created and now it's exponentially growing.
Yeah.
The mental health system is overwhelmed and don't know what to do. I know because I'm talking to head psychiatrists. I'm doing consultations or consulting clinical teams. They're like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
The so the urgency of our children need us as fathers to get it together mentally, emotionally, and physically
Yeah.
because moms need help.
Yeah.
Moms need help. And especially for young boys, moms can't teach the boy how to be a man. And then for the girls, I'm a girl dad. How I treat her is what she's going to look for. And I'm saying this from personal experience as a professional and as a father.
Yeah.
That whatever happens in those first 14 years, 85% of someone's life is decided by the time they're 14. They just don't know it yet.
Mm.
This is the core of my work. 85% of what of your life is decided by the time you're 14. We make jokes at the prison, I say, because, serial killers actually can teach us something. And they go, what? I just be saying some wild shit sometimes. And I say, you're not that different from a serial killer. And they like, Elijah, I ain't no damn serial killer. What is you talking about? I'm like, yes, you are. I said, what do we know about serial killers behavioral wise? What do we know? We know that serial killers often kill the same person over and over and over and over and over again. You don't believe me? Go watch Mindhunter on Netflix. Go watch Criminal Minds. There's a new show called The Hunting Party that's really good. Now, all of these are based on non or fictional characters. But if you actually study serial killers, something happened when they were young, and they keep reliving it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So if I got my heart broken by a brunette, and I just keep killing brunettes that look like the first girl that broke my heart, right? Okay.
Mm.
But we do the same thing. How many times has your relationships ended the same way or in the same amount of time? Or you keep dating the same type of person in different clothes or different races and ethnicities? So they may serial kill people, but you serial kill relationships. You serial kill opportunities. You serial kill other people's dreams because you haven't dealt with what's going on inside of you. And that started in the first 14 years. 85% of your life is decided by 14, whether you want to admit to it or not. or whether you knew that or not and you just didn't know it yet. That's why you keep running in circles, going through different doors and coming out of the same exit, dating the same kind of person, and dragging your same misery no matter where you go.
And that's why you have to have that personal accountability, right? So that you can change. So you're not stuck in that choice that was made for you in those first 14 years,
Not
right?
not made for us. We made the choice.
Right. Thank you for correcting me and how I phrase that.
We That's the personal accountability.
Right.
Okay. I even
People,
people ask like because when I do women's prisons, or even I have a lot of females as clients. So if you think I'm harsh, and you're just like, how does so many females? Because they like the straight talk. They like somebody to look at them and just say, "Sweetheart, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you, and I'm going to prove it." Okay, because they're tired of people coddling them. They're tired of people buying into their stories. They're tired. It is said that 80 it is said that we are the sum total of our memories. Okay? Well, if that's the case, neuroscience also says that 50% of your memories are false. Straight out the bat. Because your brain isn't accurately recording anything, it is reconstructing. So earlier today, I was telling a story about my dad when I was talking to this guy earlier. And I said, yeah. And it was about maybe 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, wait, no, that's too late because my bedtime was 8. And I looked at him and I said, see my mind trying to reconstruct the memory? This happened 30 years ago. My mind is trying to reconstruct it. So I am going to get details wrong. And that's why science says 50% of your memories are false. Okay. So we're the sum total of our memories, but 50% of your memories are false. Okay. What about the other 50%? One sided. The other half is one sided because you are only seeing it from your perspective.
yeah,
And your perspective is misguided because your perspective was based on how you felt in the moment. So if I
sure.
felt betrayed, then the narrative I'm going to create in that moment is a narrative of betrayal.
Sure. Makes sense.
So if we are the sum total of our memories, but 50% of your memories are false, and the other half is one sided, then are you really who you think you are?
Mm, food for thought.
So the difference between like when I'm sitting with people is therapy will help you cope with the story. Therapy will help you emotionally handle the story. Coaching will help you succeed in spite of the story, change the narrative. But what I'm suggesting is it's a story, it's not real. Now, am I saying that the things that happened to us didn't happen? No. I have women in my classes that have been raped, molested, trafficked, all of those things. And we help them find peace. And so, well, then how do I say these things to them? Well, I help them see what happened, happened. We cannot change that. It sucks. It was wrong. But there's something about being a human being. Well, it's not something about. One of the things about being a human being is we don't like open loops. We don't like to not know. So when I give you a piece of information or two pieces of information that don't go together, your brain is going to do what it can to link those two events together to create
Mm,
one line, one story that makes sense. And it's called narrative identity. So you get a bunch of random shit that happened. Your brain's job for the sense of to answer the question, who am I, is to take these random events and then link them together somehow to create one consistent narrative so that you feel like you know who you are. Which is why I say life is like a documentary. Because how does a documentary work? Well, I interview 30 people, got an hour interview of each, got 30 hours of interviews, and then I hire an editor. And the editor's job is to ask me, what's the story you want to tell? That's like when the Diddy documentary came out, it was so funny to like watch the aftermath because 50, with his petty ass, 50, he's so petty. 50 Cent, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, interviewed a whole bunch of people about Diddy, but then he got to decide what's the narrative he wanted to tell in that 4 hours.
Sure.
And so the editor's job is to then find the clips that tells that narrative and that narrative only.
I'm like laughing to myself right now. I'm like, how many people are we putting into an identity crisis right now? They're like, everything in my life is a lie. Like, who am
That's
I
right.
really?
But here's the thing though. That's freedom. See, in the movie The Matrix, when Morpheus told Neo that you live in a prison that you can't hear, smell, see, taste, or touch, that's what he's talking about. The narrative, your identity is your sense of security, but it is also your greatest limitation.
Yeah.
Because if I were to bring my 8-month-old son in here right now, and when you look into his eyes, you don't see a personal history. You see pure being, pure construct, just pure possibility.
Beautiful thing.
And what the linking of these memories together does is start to build a wall inside of your mind of who you think you are, and then you can't think outside of that box.
You know, what's so interesting about this right now for me is that like, and this is a little bit like a tangent, is neuroplastic pain. Do you know what neuroplastic pain is?
No.
Neuroplastic pain is when you have an injury, and during the injury, then like if you move a certain way and it's like dangerous, like the area is sending danger signals to the brain. The area heals, and then your brain, so for some people, the brain gets stuck in what is now safety signals that is being sent from the area. The brain reads as danger signals because it's reminiscent of what previously happened. And so people, for some people, decades later, like myself, we continue to feel the pain, and then we have hypervigilance, and there's all these different stories that we add on top of it, right? So what you're talking about to me is like, oh, that's like neuroplastic pain. There's a narrative that we've laid on top of something that we've created an identity for that we then have to take apart and just change our minds literally, and then the pain can finally be gone and you can have the freedom to live the quality life that you've always wanted because the pain has been removed. Like you still feel the pain otherwise, but it's unnecessary. You can literally
It's
change your mind like you're saying, and then it's gone.
Suffering is optional.
Right.
Life
uh
happens, but the suffering is optional. You you want more proof? You don't want to hear from me? Great. Go hear from Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. A man who found peace in Auschwitz. Go read
yeah,
it.
it's a powerful book.
So if it was circumstances that causes our suffering, then why do we have soldiers that were in POW camps that didn't lose their minds, found peace, found compassion? Why do you have someone like Nelson Mandela who spent 27 years in prison and then got out and had nothing but compassion for his captors, right? So it is always the story that we tell ourselves about what happened, never what actually happened. Because if the thing that happened was the thing that causes you to feel the way you feel, then everybody who experienced that thing before should all feel the same way. But the truth is not.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does this have to do with mental health? Everything. Because all your depression, your suicidal ideation, your anxiety, the PTSD, the trauma, all of that comes from the story after what happened. I remember because people keep bringing up the book, The Body Keeps the Score to me, and I'm like, I get that, I get that. But if you continue to have the same narrative over and over and over again, then even though your nervous system feels better because of all the work you did on your nervous system, you will keep triggering that shit over and over and over again. Because you have to. Because the body does what the mind tells it to. Over and over and over again.
For the people, go ahead.
I was saying, like, for instance, I remember when I used to ride around, especially like during times where, because I grew up hearing that you could die by the hands of the police. Like, that was just a normal, I'm a black man in America, you could die by the hands of the police, which is true. And it's a possibility.
Yeah.
But I remember driving down the road, and whenever I would see a police officer get behind me, immediately my heart would sink into my butt. I'd start to hyperventilate. I'd start to sweat and sometimes make a mistake while driving. I ain't done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But I am freaking the hell out just
Yeah.
by seeing the light, the car behind me. And then if they hit the, even if it wasn't for me, it would take me 10 minutes to calm down, even after they passed me.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Until one day, I literally said, okay, what's this? What is happening? What are you doing? I'm talking to my body. What are you doing? And I'm realizing, oh, this is a conditioned response.
Yeah.
And so the next time it happened, I started to feel the feeling, but I was cognitively aware of what was happening. And I said, no, not doing that. My body is not independent of my mind. Go ask a Shaolin monk if their body is independent of their mind. So my body's not independent. So I started to come up. No, we're not doing that. You did nothing wrong. Relax. The story is the possibility that this could happen, but that's not what's happening. What's happening is the car is behind me. The possibility in my head, the story in my head is what's causing my body to freak out.
Yeah.
So whenever the story occurred, cut it off. There's no reason for the body to respond. And so it took practice. I kept doing it until now. Cop gets behind me. I feel absolutely nothing.
Nice. So, like, when you like, that's where you would say that for people to start. Like, people are listening to us today, and some people are like stuck in their different stories or shame spirals or whatnot. And you're just like, you start by just
What's a
telling
shame
acknowledgement.
spiral? What's a shame
What's
spiral?
a shame spiral is when you would just feel shame and you just follow the
So,
narrative of
right,
shame.
exactly. The
And you just keep
narrative of
the
shame.
narrative and just like
The
again and again and again, and it
the
stops you from
narrative.
seeing. Yeah, the narrative of shame continues to just like you're stuck on that and can't be in a space more of like present time and reality or hearing anybody else or taking accountability because you're just stuck in the narrative of shame.
The key word is narrative,
Yeah.
not real, not happening, not reality, not what is, not the present moment in
Right.
your head,
Correct.
right? My friend Dr. Bill Pettit, uh, we're opening up our clinic here in Arizona,
For
and
Life Lab.
yep, Life Lab, our behavioral health clinic here in Arizona will be open. Uh, the the clinical side of it will be open in like November, and so he always says you're either in your head or you're in your life.
Mm.
Super simple. You're either in your head or you're in your life. You can't be in
Powerful
both.
statement right there.
You can't be in both places.
I feel like I want that as a bumper sticker.
It should be a bumper stick. I mean, Bill got a lot of one-liners. I mean, if you want to have somebody on,
It's,
I encourage you to reach out to Dr. Bill
that
Pettit.
sounds that sounds
Uh
great. Wait, send,
we
match
he
us up.
we do the prison work he now joins me at the prison every Friday.
Nice.
Uh and we now do this together, right? He saw the work that we were doing, he saw the turnarounds that we were having, and he was like, yo, I want to be a part of this. And he's 84 years old. He's been a psychiatrist for 46 years,
Awesome.
right? And so, but we call ourselves Ebony and Ivory, right? Just can you tell which one is which? An 84-year-old white dude, I'm a 41-year-old black man, and we just have the time of our lives together.
I love that.
And so, but he's got a lot of one-liners, a lot of amazing, simplistic one-liners that are just jaw-dropping. But yeah, he says, you're either in your head or you're in your life. So the key word is narrative.
Yeah.
And the challenge that we have as human beings is we think because I can connect the dots in my head that that's what's actually real. And we're all living in our own virtual reality of our own personal use of thought called story.
Yeah.
And then it, wonder why we experience the misery over and over and over and over and over again. Because you keep believing what's in your head. It's just that simple. What's happening
So
in your head is not happening in real life.
yeah. So like for people that are newer to this principle, what would you guide them towards as what you would feel like would be a functional starting point?
I'll tell you the same thing I do with teens. And teens are so easy. My wife and I run a teen program we call the School of Perception. And parents that are clients or they were in my class, even the women that are with mothers in prison are like, hey, can you work with my kid on the outside, right? So they don't have to undo all this crap, right? So a lot
Right.
of clients, they bring me their children and they're like, can you help my kid not do this now? And people think that teens are hard. Teens are not hard. Teens are actually the easiest people in the world for this to understand because they're still in the space of learning how to think.
Mm.
See, as an adult, 40, 45 years old, you think you freaking know everything because you've been experiencing the same shit over and over and over and over again. And you're just like, oh, every day is the same shit, different toilet bowl. Yeah, you're stuck in a loop that you've hardened and you think is real. Got it. But teens, they're not there yet. They're still learning how to think. So while they're learning how to think, the only thing my wife and I do is we help them separate fact from story. So they come to us with their challenges or their issues, and we go, okay. And we don't literally say, what's the fact, what's the story? But we do it different ways. But at
For
the end of
sure.
the day, that's the premise, that's the foundation of the conversation, right? And I say, well, so what happened? And they'd be like, well, uh, uh, you know, my friend didn't text me back. And now I'm pissed. Okay. Well, what actually happened? Well, they didn't text me back. And that's because I said, nope, stop, stop, stop. The moment you say because, you are now going into narrative mode. What is just what happened. You text, they didn't text you back. Why they didn't text you back is completely made up. You are about to fabricate a whole story that ain't true and that you're going to punish yourself and everybody else about. Oh, okay. I see that. But they don't get it right away. We just keep doing that over and over and over and over and over again. And eventually it gets to the point where they don't just do it for themselves, but then they start doing it for their friends. I got a 10-year-old kid named Roman, whose school counselor called his mom because he diffused a possible school shooting
Wow.
during recess because some kid was getting bullied that he was watching. He went and talked to that kid, and that kid said, I'm going to go home and get my dad's gun. I'm going to come back and I'm going to shoot those guys. So Roman helps the kid separate fact from story, then goes over to the other guys that was doing the bullying and do the same thing with them.
So amazing.
10 years old on the playground. Because once these kids get it, that's just a part of who they are. Seeing
Yeah.
what is and stopping themselves from creating stories and narratives that causes misery or unhappiness for them. And I tell them, whatever story you're creating in your head is an absolute lie. So if you're going to lie to yourself, at least tell yourself a good one.
Solid point. I like it.
I had a girl who swore up and down. She had all these daddy issues. She swore up and down her daddy didn't love her. I said, how did you know? He was never there. Did you ever meet him? No. Then how do you know he didn't want you? I mean, for all you know, he could have been all kinds of places or dealing with all kinds of situations, but you took that and went the worst. I said, if you're going to lie to yourself, you might as well tell yourself you was daddy's little girl so you don't run around here feeling like shit all day.
Yeah.
Because you don't know the reason why.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make up something that makes you feel good.
Yeah. So like it's so important. It's like it's so interesting, right? Because it's something that's so simple yet so hard.
That's because we committed to being right.
Oh yeah, oh yes. The ego. It's such a powerful thing. So
That's the
committed.
commitment
Yeah,
to
it's like
being right.
yeah, right. The right the right wrong thing. How does it serve us?
But you know
It's
what else it is?
what?
It's I don't know who I am without the story. Like at the deeper level, it's I don't know
Yeah.
who I am without it.
Yeah, and that's terrifying, right? Because like so many people they feel out of control in their lives otherwise. And control is what keeps them safe because it's consistent, it's predictable. Like they know what happens when they do X. They do X, Y
Right.
happens. And outside of that, especially if somebody doesn't feel confident and comfortable navigating the unknown in potential conflict, right? Then it's becomes overwhelming.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't.
That's right.
Right. I know who I am with all this misery. I know how to operate in the world with all this misery. If I let this go, if we go back to the movie The Matrix, which is my favorite movie, and if you don't know, it
Same.
is. So much so I named my son Keanu. And when he
Uh,
has his birthday party this in November, he was born on 11/11, by the way. So he is the one. And it's like
That's so funny.
manifest stuff. I
Yeah.
manifested a boy on 11/11. So he is the one. And his name is Keanu because it's my favorite movie and I watched it a million times. But that's because I see
Yeah,
it more like a documentary than it is an actual entertainment movie.
I
But when
understand.
he goes back to the construct, when he's in that big white space and
Yeah.
he's telling Neo, this is the construct. He says, this construct is pure possibility. We can lay any program we want on top of this white space. And this white space will become whatever program we lay on top of it. And you won't be able to know the difference
Mhm.
between the real world and the made up world. And so when you're saying we're putting people in identity crisis, I'm taking them back to the white space,
Yeah.
right? And I remember it's to show The Hunting Party on NBC. It's really good. One of the serial killers was a cult leader, and he would put people in like a white space. When they'd like challenge his authority, he would put them in a white space where it was just you couldn't tell where it began and where it ended. It's like something he built in a warehouse. It was wild. But I remember the characters of the show going into this space, and they're like, I feel so uneasy being in here because I don't know where it is. I don't know where I am in relation to everything. It just feels unstable in
Yeah.
this infinite white space. There's
Yeah.
nothing to relate to. There's no distance. There's no time. There's no nothing. There's no depth. There's nothing. It's just white space.
Interesting.
And so when I help people remember who they were before the world got its hands on them, part of that journey is going back to the white space
Mm.
and being able to exist in the white space of being nobody. That's the real freedom. Being nobody. Because if I'm nobody, then I could be anybody. I live from a space of pure creation and pure possibility.
And look what you've created in your
But
life.
I'm not saying me, I would just say in general that the child
Right.
lives in a space of pure creation and pure possibility, which is why one week they could be SpongeBob, and the next week they could be Batman, and the next week after that it could be a Ninja Turtle, and they never asked you for permission or forgiveness.
I love that. It's so true. The imagination of a child and getting to just be anything.
Yeah, but then they grow up and society says, again, the world gets its hands on you, and society says, you can't do that. You can't change. You need to pick who you're going to be and stick with it.
Mm.
You don't get to change your mind. You're going to grow up and be poor. You're going to be unsuccessful. You're going to have a shitty life if you just constantly reinventing yourself. Because now it doesn't match up to Western idea of what a good life is. Because they need you on the cog, they need you on the wheel, they need you on the conveyor belt. So the child is God's original design. The child does not come here for us to teach. The child comes here to remind you of who you are. But then we
Mm.
take that infinite possibility and then we stuff it into a box because that's what somebody did to us.
Modeling.
The child is your reminder of who you really are.
And the opportunity, right, to be able to come back to who we are, to make
That's
that
right.
change, and to have that desire to connection.
But the only way to remember who you are is to let go of the story of who you think you are.
I want to just touch base because we're a little over our hour, but
Oh,
with the
wow.
prison,
That was
I know
fast.
it went by so fast. Zoom. Um, with the prison, and I'm sure this winds together with the prison reform. I just want to touch on that.
Yes.
Everything that you've been saying is just like for the
Because there's
audience
nothing wrong.
and
There's nothing wrong with these people. There's nothing wrong with them. They are children. Most of them, even though they got beards and kids, they're still adolescents.
mm,
They're still the teenager. They haven't grown up yet, which is why they keep doing what they're doing. And no one has ever shown them the unconditional love and accountability to sit with them and go, boy, girl, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm going to prove it to you. And I'm going to sit here and love on you until you see it for yourself.
yeah,
And then hold them to another level of responsibility in that you have the answers to the community's problems. Now, if you get off your piss pot party and see that you have a responsibility because you have the lived experience. I had a woman, she's in prison for drunk driving, manslaughter. She killed two people. She was a soccer mom. So all you soccer moms listening out there, she had a couple of extra glasses of wine and hit two people and now serving 15 years. The shame that she sat in for the last 7 years before me and my wife got there was huge.
yeah,
And
I
I looked
imagine.
her dead in her face and I said, there is no better spokesperson for Moms Against Drunk Driving than you. You should be the mascot for Moms Against Drunk Driving and spend your whole the next season of your life doing tours around the country for Moms Against Drunk Driving because they're trying to warn mothers what's possible. You actually experienced it.
Yeah, it makes a
But
lot of sense.
instead, we punish people. We're punishing them. They don't need punishment. They need unconditional love because most of them feel like they've never gotten it. And that's what led them down the road that they're on in the first place.
Yeah,
And we keep trying to punish them into being better. Well, how's that working out? It's not.
yeah,
And for the public, it would behoove you to put more responsibility on your state's Department of Corrections to for rehabilitation. Because here's what you don't understand as the public. 90% of them are going to get out of jail. And when they get out, they're going to come to your neighborhood, shop at your grocery store, go to church where you go to church. They're going to be around the school your kids go to. So it's not like they go to jail and they go away forever. They're going to come home. And if you don't treat them like a decent human being when they come home, give them a second chance, give them a job, show them love with accountability. Let them know that they're a human being. They served their time. They've forgiven. If you don't give that to them and you tell them, we can't hire you because of your work history, or we're scared of you because of the crime you committed. We're going to turn you down. We're going to shut you out. Then they have no choice but to go back to doing what they were doing. Now you feel them making them feel even more rejected. And then so they recidivize. Well, the recidivism doesn't mean that they harmed themselves and went back to jail. The recidivism means they harmed one of you. So the question you have to ask yourself, and why everyone should have a stake in prison reform, is who do you want them to be when they come home? because the state's job is to house them, not rehabilitate them.
Mm. I think that what you said about love with accountability is so important, right? Because it's not like you're just giving people a free pass. You're holding that space. It's like, I'm holding you accountable, but I'm going to love and support you through this so that you can get back to like a functional space and be seen as a human being.
My mentor, Andre Norman, who's shout out to Andre, who's like the Michael Jordan of the prison space. He says, I don't want to grossly misquote him, but I'll end with this. He says, the greatest form of accountability is disappointment.
Mm,
It's not fear, it's not punishment, it's disappointment. When you love on somebody so hard, I win these guys and these ladies over so quickly because they could feel the love and the unwillingness to buy their BS because I see something better for them. And I hold that. This is not who you are. This is who you are. I won't treat you like this. I'm going to treat you like this. And you either borrow some of my belief until you get your own, or there's the door.
right.
When you hold somebody like that, then they become afraid to disappoint you
That makes sense.
because nobody's believed in them like that.
Yeah.
Nobody's loved them like that. And you can hear people and out in the world with stories of, I had this one coach, I had this one teacher, I had this one cousin, I had this one friend, I had this one uncle. And it's always a story of somebody who loved them enough to hold them accountable
Yeah.
and call them up to a higher level of being. But the love part, you can't just hold them accountable without love because now it just feels like punishment.
Yeah, for sure. So, Elijah, I want to wrap, there's been so much power and so much gold, and I deeply appreciate your time and your candor today because I'm sure it will help others. And so, who inspires you in the world today?
You do.
I appreciate that.
Look at what you're doing. You decided to devote your time, your resources, cash in on your relationships to build a space for men to come and get right with themselves. You inspire me.
Thank you, Elijah. I deeply appreciate that. It's it's a powerful thing for each of us to face the things that have not necessarily been so pretty and make a different choice. Like you said, like I have been harmed by men on different levels, and yet I choose to not put them in a box so that I can support them. And I think that's important. And like you make, and like you model and you make your choice and you create that space for others. And so I share that, and like you inspire me in the work that you do and how you've continued to show up and in a very powerful and unique way. And so on that note, where can people find you so that they may get the support that they need and the inspiration and share with others?
You can go to iamalreadywhole.com. That's iamalreadywhole.com. And Everything is there. Next week, starting next
Starting
Wednesday
next
at 6 p.m. Uh, Arizona Standard Time, I will be begin a new platform or called uh, Real Talk with Elijah. So it would be free, it's free to join. Uh, you bring what's weighing on you. You raise your hand. You bring what's weighing on you, or you could just come listen. You don't have to participate. And I'm going to spend that hour giving as many people new perspective as possible. And
What
so
a
it's
gift
called
to the world.
Real Talk with Elijah. And so that will start next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Arizona Standard Time, every Wednesday until I don't feel like doing it no more. But it is my gift to everyone because all everybody needs is a little bit of perspective. And I just
So
happen to have a
true.
unique way of, I consider myself a mirror. I'm just a mirror. I'm not the nicest mirror. Like I'm gonna show you everything. There's no filter on this mirror.
It's broken. I don't know where it went. Like
there's
it's broke,
there's no
fell off.
filter on this mirror. I'm gonna show every blemish, every every dry spot. I'm showing everything. But
Yeah.
it's for you. It's for you because I also consider myself a concierge of this resort called Earth. Earth to me is the Hawaii of the universe. It's this beautiful, beautiful space in the middle of chaos. And the way this place works is absolutely amazing. And to me, it's a vacation from nothing.
Mm.
We go from non existence to, oh shit, I'm here. And as far as we know, back to non existence. And on average, the human being lives about 141 seconds. When you compare the 65, 70, 80 years of the human lifespan to all of human recorded history, it's about 141 seconds. That's how long we're here for.
Interesting.
And we come here with a one-way ticket. And you don't know when the airport's going to call you to go home. And we land on this amazing resort that is just full of wonder. And the best part about it is it completely responds to you. It is the
Mm.
most amazing experience because you get to customize it to you. But when we come here, we already know how to work it. But there are people on this island that want to control your experience.
Mm.
There are people who are having a shitty experience that want to make other people have shitty experiences. And so, as a concierge who was once having a shitty experience on this resort, I then applied to become an employee of the resort. And now it's my job to find those guests who are here temporarily that are having a shitty experience and help them turn that frown upside down and show them all the wonderful amazingness that this resort has to offer.
Mm. We are very lucky to have you here as our concierge, Elijah.
I'm not the only one, there's plenty of us.
There are plenty of us, it's true. And hopefully more coming up as we model a better way.
Absolutely.
All those teenagers that you're helping and parents that get to come home at some point do
Let's take
better.
our resort back.
Yeah. Always
Everything
kind
we
of like
need is already here.
always kind of liked being a rebel. I feel like I could do that.
That's
I like
right.
a lot.
Let's take our
I had
resort
a
back.
I had a tank top a long time ago that it's always been my favorite. I need a new one. I feel like you'd appreciate it. It says "Stop bitching and start a revolution."
I love it. I need that shirt.
You
I
do. You
need
do
that
need that
shirt.
shirt. Yeah.
And
It's
and
the
and we
best
have
shirt.
begun. We have begun, and at Life Lab, we will create Life Lab as a hub for the mental health revolution. And
Yeah, I love that.
every clinician and psychiatrist I know that is honest knows we need one. Because when I get up and speak and I say these things, I usually have clinicians or psychiatrists or psychologists coming to me on the side going, man, everything you said is absolutely right. But they can't say it because they'll lose their job.
Right.
So I say what they can't say. But they all know we need a revolution because things are getting worse.
Yeah.
We throw money at cancer, people who die from cancer go down. We throw money at uh, 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 tumors. Everything we throw money at as a society, the death rates drop. The only thing that has not changed, no matter how much money we throw at it, is mental health. And that's because most are trained to be mental illness professionals, not mental health professionals.
Yeah.
They're trained to tell you what's wrong with you and how to treat it.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people aren't just willing to hold the line either with that like radical accountability,
Right. Because
but with love.
most people have never experienced with a free, healthy, I call emotional enlightenment mind and body looks. They don't know what it looks like or feels like. Not
Sure.
experientially, they can intellectually
Sure.
tell you what it looks like and feels like and sounds like, but they've never experienced it. So they don't really know if it's possible. So all the smoke people catch from me is coming from a place of lived experience. I
Yeah.
know what a fully free mind feels like because I got one. I know what a fully emotionally enlightened body feels like because I got one. So it's not a a space of intellectualness. I
Yeah.
know exactly what this feels and looks like.
Yeah.
So
You embody it.
you can't sell me no wolf tickets. But I also understand from a business perspective that whatever wolf ticket somebody's selling, that's how they make their money.
Lots
So
of different pieces to it.
asking them to just put all that down for the simplicity is to threaten their livelihood.
A lot of layers to it for sure.
Anyway, that's my humble coconut opinion. Um,
Well, Elijah, thank you again so very much for your time today. And I just appreciate you so much. And I look forward to more people getting to connect with you and read your book already whole. I've read the whole thing, so I can speak from a place of, there we go. It's right there.
Shameless plug. And there's now a
Shameless plug.
workbook to it. And there's now a workbook to it.
I love that. I mean, I love the book so much that I gave it to my best friend because I was like, no, you need it now, not like the time it takes you to drive to the store. Like, please read it. Um, and I really think that everybody should read that book. There are a handful of books that I do believe that in, like that one and like The Way Out is a great book that has to do with the neuroplastic pain. I've been
Mm.
dealing with this for 17 years. I've been to PTs and had surgeries, orthopedic doctors, like acupuncturists, chiropractors, massage. I am a massage therapist, have been for 25 years, and no one has ever talked to me about neuroplastic pain until like the last month. And so now I'm just telling everybody about it. I'm like, have you heard about this? Have you heard about this? Like anybody
Yeah,
that'll listen to me. This might be the key for you to get out of pain if you've been dealing with it for a super long time. So that's my plug.
love it. Love it.
So everybody, thank you so much for watching either live or in the replay on the YouTube channel Global Resources for Men. And stay tuned for more episodes. I'm going to be coming up here, hopefully more on a 2-week cycle, getting to have men from around the world come and share their stories, share their resources, and so that people can just see that they're not alone and there is a way to have a better life, to be your full self. So until next time, everybody. We'll see you later.